Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf to Tag Wednesday. I'm going to do tags until you die and until I'm done with all the tags I've been tagged in. This one is a tag that I've been tagged in so long ago that I couldn't even find out anymore who tagged me because I only write down that I've been tagged, but I forgot with this tag to write down by whom. Stupid me. But I can tell you that this is the 6 degrees of separation tag, who was originally created by Peter Likes Books. And the purpose of this tag is that you pick a book from your shelf and another book, and then you connect them with only 6 steps. So you go from the first book to the second book in the 6 degrees of separation tag. And what I did was I picked, because I want to talk about books, obviously, that I like. So that made it a little bit difficult. What I did, I had a friend of mine pick 2 books from the first bookshelf, the A, B author, and from the last bookshelf, which she knows I love. And she picked those 2 books. The first one is Vicki Baum. This is the German title, Menschen Hotel, but it was translated into English as Grand Hotel. And the book I have to get to is this one, Hanya Yanagihara's debut novel from 2013, The People in the Trees. So first, this one. This is certainly one of my favorite German modern classics. It was published in 1928 and made into a movie. It's set in a hotel, hence the title. And you have a variety of characters who meet each other in this hotel and whose lives are connected or become connected through their stay in a hotel. So you have a ballet dancer in decline because she's, getting older and cannot perform anymore as well. You have a thief who gets connected to her life. You have a very ill bank employee who wants to spend the rest of his remaining life in luxury. So he books a hotel room in this Grand Hotel. You have his boss and the secretary. So it's characters who meet each other and who collide in that hotel. And I think the book is brilliant. It's it gives a very in-depth character study of these characters, and it also is a picture of the time. The time just before the war starts. So if you've never heard of Vicki Baum, I'm pronouncing it English, Vicki Baum. Baum means tree. Anyway, which is funny because the other book has tree in the title. But I'm digressing. Anyway, so if you've never heard of this, I can certainly recommend it. It's a wonderful, short little book about people's lives colliding in a confined space. And I'm connecting Vicki Baum's book with another book set in a confined space, and that is A Ship, Katherine Anne Porter's Ship of Fools, first published in 1962. Katherine Anne Porter was an American journalist. She won the Pulitzer Prize for her journalism. She also wrote short stories. She worked on this novel for a decade. It's her only novel. And it's like the first book. It's also connected by the fact that it's been made into a movie. I think it's a shame that Katherine Anne Porter is hardly read anymore because this is a fantastic book. It's set on a ship in 1931, traveling from Mexico to Germany in the course of a couple of weeks between August and September. And you have the same vast array of characters, even more, much more characters than in the Vicki Baum book. You have a lawyer, you have a Jewish manufacturer, you have the ship's crew, and they all have, their lives collide in a similar way on this ship. And it's also connected with the Vicki Baum book because it gives this foreboding of something horrible happening. The book is set a couple of 3 years later than Menschen, but it has this tension of something horrible on the horizon. The rise of National Socialism in Germany in 1933. So you have the same tension of the war on the horizon, and these people struggling with their lives. I think it's a wonderful book. And even though you probably have never heard of Katherine Anne Porter, you should certainly read it. Also set on a ship, and referencing in the beginning the Ship of Fools, not Katherine Anne Porter's, but the original, Ship of Fools of the Middle Ages, is the 1997 novel Symmetries by Jeanette Winterson. Now, you know probably that Jeanette Winterson is one of my favorite modern authors. She is from Manchester, and Symmetries is certainly one. I read almost all of her novels, and this is one of my favorites. So on this ship, the Queen Elizabeth II, traveling through the Atlantic, we meet Giovanni and his wife Stella and Alice. Giovanni is a physicist. They're all connected to physics somehow. The title referencing, not only the gut, but the grand unified theory. So this book is about this love triangle happening on this ship, but it's also about physics, which I love because I'm a nerd, so I love books that sort of reference physics. If you have never picked up any Jeanette Winterson, I would probably suggest that you start with her first book, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, but Symmetries, about this love triangle, is certainly also a good place to start. And I'm connecting Jeanette Winterson's Symmetries, the love triangle, with another book about a love triangle, and that is Willa Cather's A Lost Lady from 1923. Now, Willa Cather was an American author born in Virginia, and she received the Pulitzer Prize in the same year this book was published, but for a previous book, one of ours, and I love her work. It's quite a short book set in the Old West. You have Marion, a woman in a small town or village, beautiful. She's married, and she's admired. And then you have Neil, who sort of is one part of the love triangle because he admires her, but then there's also another love triangle because Marion is having an affair. So it's written from Neil's perspective, how he admires this woman, but the deception of her then engaging in an affair. So you have these sort of two love triangles, one that is not consumed and one that is consumed. And I think it's a brilliant work. And I'm connecting this. I had quite a hard time to find the next book, but then I saw that this edition has an introduction by A.S. Byatt. So basically, I could just pick my favorite A.S. Byatt book, and that is the children's book, published in 2009. The book is set, it's large, and the period that is covered is also large because it starts the end of the Edwardian era, and it goes right up to the end of the First World War. We start with a family in Kent, the mother Olive, and then we broaden and broaden and broaden from her family and friends and somebody she meets. We go to Paris, we go to Munich, and we go to the trenches of the Somme. So it's an ambitious book, and I love it. I think it's a fantastic picture of the era and the changes, like many of the previous book I mentioned. I just love that. If you get the sense of a whole era, of a period in time, with really well developed characters, and the way the war and the way to the war is pictured, I think is one of the most brilliant ways I've ever read. So I love A.S. Byatt's work, but this one is certainly my favorite. And it also has quite an array, a cast of historical figures, so real life people who actually lived. And one of them is Edward Carpenter. And Edward Carpenter was an English author. He was born in the mid 19th century, an author and a socialist. He wrote a lot about civilization and its causes and its cure. But his main focus was on gay rights. And he wrote a book, Love's Coming of Age, in which he talks about being gay and gay rights, but also about free love. And this concept of free love was adopted by another scientist, and that scientist is Margaret Mead, which brings me to the next book, and that is Euphoria by Lilly King. This book is based on Margaret Mead, who was a 20th century anthropologist, influenced by Edward Carpenter. This book is set in 1933. It doesn't use the name Margaret Mead, but it's obviously based on her life and an expedition to the jungles of New Guinea. Do you say New Guinea or New Guinea? Please, English native speakers, tell me. But anyway, so this book is set during an expedition where a couple, both anthropologists, meet another a scientist, and in the course of a couple of weeks, things get hot and steamy. But it's not only about the relationships between those three people, but also about anthropology. And with that, we arrive at our destination, Hanya Yanagihara's debut novel, The People in the Trees, published in 2013. Now, if you're following my channel or follow me on Goodreads, you know probably that I was not a big fan, to say the least, of A Little Life. But her debut is brilliant. I cannot recommend this highly enough. It's based on the real life of a real scientist who won the Nobel Prize, Daniel Carlton Gajdesek. He was an American scientist, and his life was kind of dubious a little bit. So the main protagonist here, Norton Perinia, is based on Gajdesek. And we follow an expedition in the 1950s. It's told from an assistant of the main character. His name is Ronald, and he tells us the story. And we follow this expedition to a Micronesian island where they find a tribe that is having, secret medicine coming from a turtle, and they have an extremely long life, albeit they are all developing dementia and becoming senile. The whole tribe and everything is completely fictional, and I was blown away by the way the author built this world, this fictional tribe, with all their rights and the medical aspect of it. But what is so fantastic about this book, as you can gather, if it's based on this real life Nobel laureate, who was then charged, with rape and sexual abuse of young children, young boys. So the main character is horrible. And I think it's one of the best books, at least one of the best books I've read, with an appalling main character that is really still engaging and very nuanced and very layered, especially from the point of view of Ronald, who tells us the story, and the whole anthropology theme and what it means, to discover an undiscovered tribe, and what kind of influence this Western imperialistic approach has on this tribe and the nature there and the people there. I thought it was brilliant. So highly recommend this book, as I recommend all the other books of the 6 degrees of separation tag. And I really love this tag because it makes you think about the books and how they are connected. And maybe like me, you normally don't think of books that way. So you go through your bookshelf and find connections between books that you haven't thought of. So I thought it was brilliant. And I hope you liked it too. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments on any of the books or any other books you want to talk to me about. And I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye-bye.